Woo! Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. So great to be back in the regular time slot of 7 to 9 p.m. every Monday through Friday. Although it's Monday, so it's only 7 to 8 tonight. And then tomorrow, we have a game, so it'll be no show. So Wednesday, we'll be back full time, 7 to 9. I'm just kidding. Shelly went to show 7 to 9, Monday through Friday. Just having fun. Happy New Year to all of you. I'm so happy to be back. Thank you, Alan Sanders, for filling in, doing a wonderful job. I want to start 4 years ago, 2019, actually. I was, my mom, I had moved my mom down here a couple months before, and I had her in a senior living place. And she lived there, and I went over there. I was with her all the time. And we hadn't put in the washer dryer as yet. And so we had to go to the public washer dryer. And so on January 6th, well, let me go back a little bit. I apologize. A little bit earlier, in early December, maybe mid to early December, I got a text from a dear brother and friend of mine. He was a former listener at the old station, and we become family. Like, I know his family, he knows my family. We've hung out, our families have hung out. And you know, he's family. And he texted me 2020, December, he texts me and he says, a bunch of us are going on a bus to the Trump rally on January 6th. And my text back to him at the time was, be careful. That's what I said to him. Be careful. And here's the rest of the text. Be careful. Those Antifa people may be there. That's what I had texted him. At the time, there was nothing in my mind telling me that there was what was going to happen on January 6th was going to happen. So January 6th comes. That morning, I got up like any other morning, and I went to do laundry with my mom, took her back to her apartment, and was kind of sitting around. It's about 12:30-ish, 1 o'clock-ish. And I was sitting around. I was bored. At the time, we were on the air late that night, 9 to midnight, I believe. And so I didn't have to be at the station as early, but I was bored. And so I said, well, let me get something to eat, head on into the station. Lived out in Dallas at the time, right? And so I said, well, you know, I'll go get something to eat, and then I'll just head on down 278 and go to the station, get there a little early. So I'm driving down 278, and I'm listening to 95.5 WSB, which I do all day long. And I'm hearing Chris Chandler, and they're going into, there's a disturbance at the Capitol. And then they're looking at the thing, and they went into the studio, and they broke live, and everything started breaking out. And I'm listening to our radio station, which is a news station, giving us the breaking news of what's going on, of people attacking the Capitol, climbing up the walls, going into the doors, grappling with police, and it was on. And I'll never forget, I'm listening to this on the radio. So as I'm driving, and I'm headed down 278, and I'm driving to the station now because it's breaking news. And I get a call. No, I called my good friend who I know is at this rally. So I'm listening on the radio, smoke bombs, tear gas, fighting, people smashing windows, people climbing up the walls, people climbing up the scaffolding. This is all what's being described by the great Chris Chandler. And so I call my friend who's at the Capitol at the rally. I get him on the phone. And I said, hey, man, first words out of my mouth, are you okay? And he says, I'm fine. What's wrong with you? I said, well, there's a riot at the Capitol right now. I'm listening to it on the radio. And he laughs at me. And he says, what are you talking about? I'm looking at the Capitol right now. There's nothing going on. I said, well, this is what's being aired. They're telling us there's rioting. There are people climbing the scaffolding. There are people going into the Capitol. What are you talking about? And I said, where are you? He says, we're on the ellipse looking at the Capitol right now. There's nothing going on. And it wasn't until later that night he got back to his hotel and he saw the CNN reporting and he saw the Fox News reporting and everything, and he saw what happened while he was there. But he had no idea what was going on while he was there. And that night we had him on a show. He called in from up there, told us all everything that was going on. I'll never forget that day. I'll also never forget that day because I was on the air for about 4 minutes with Eric Erickson, Eric Von Hessler, Mark Arum. Chris Chandler was right in the booth to my left. And I was literally on there for about 4 minutes. 4 or 5 minutes until they took us off the air. And my point then is the same as my point now. I would never, ever indulge or encourage anybody to riot or be violent because they disagree with their government, ever. I didn't do it when African Americans were and teenagers were smashing up Minneapolis or St. Louis or here in Atlanta over to George Floyd. I would never encourage it. I would never agree with it. And I would never do it myself, and I would never tell anybody else to do it, whether they're young African American kids who feel the police are shooting them dead in the streets, or MAGA supporters who believe an election was stolen. Rioting is never, violence is never the answer. That is Shelley Winter's heartfelt belief. However, in both cases, the kids who believe the cops are shooting them down in the streets like dogs, and the MAGA supporters who believe that the election was stolen. By the way, both groups are wrong in their assessments of what's going on, but that's a show for a different day. However, I will say, I understand the anger emanating from both. Do I agree with their reactions and what they're doing? No. Do I understand the anger? Yes. And I think that my opening statement about January 6th, as we hear now again 4 years later, with Trump being inaugurated, Trump being certified to be president of the United States, I will tell you this. I understand the anger. I don't understand I don't agree with, nor do I encourage, nor do I support the actions of the groups of people who riot or see violence as the answer. But do I think, like Sonny Hostin said, it's this? Do I think what Sonny Hostin said, it's the same as the worst time in American history? Worse than the Holocaust? Worse than chattel slavery? No, I think that's the most obscenely stupidest thing I've ever heard. And if you don't take her off the air after that statement today, then there are no values about TV news or TV opinion and being on television. Because if she can make a statement like that, I should be back on CNN tomorrow. Here's what she said.
I think we need to find moral clarity, in this country. And I just remember after January 6th, you had someone like Mitch McConnell placing the blame on January 6th where it belonged, squarely on Donald Trump's shoulders. Mm-hmm. And then you started seeing people backtrack that mm-hmm. and losing their moral center. You had Condoleezza Rice, I believe, on this very show saying, we need to move on from January 6th. Mm-hmm. I say no. You don't move on, because January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery. We need to never forget, because past becomes prologue if you forget any race.
That's obscenely stupid. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But that's on the way outside. That's on the way outside. On the way other side is, it was nothing. Let's forget about it. No, somewhere in the middle. We need to remember it so it never happens again. It's not the worst thing ever to happen in this country's history. The two statements are true at once. There's somewhere, we need to remember it. We need to know What happened on January 6th should never happen again, under no circumstances, unless you're ready to go to war with your fellow citizens. And if that happens, then we're finished as a country anyway. Shelley Winter Show, 448. We're not giving out the number because we're only here for an hour. We'll be right back.